Hello, everyone, and welcome to Patriot Crusader Missions Christian Warrior Talk. Happy Monday. A lot to catch you guys up on. I know that some of you have heard the news. I'm going to wait for some more people to get on here. And I've got some baby pics to share, which kind of blows the news out of the water. So you guys should know. Um, hey, we the people, Merry Christmas to you. And see if we get more people. So, what an action packed weekend we have had, or well, the end of last week, and we didn't have a show on Friday, as you guys know. Yes, hey, Michelle. Hey, we the people. Good to see you. So, Lauren, who was supposed to be late, was 8 days early. And with 8 days early, um, I'll give you the blow by blow. No, she has a name. The name has been there, and we can go over that. Hey, Linda, good to see you. I'm going to welcome back to the show, Pastor Andrew. Hey, how's it going, brother?
Hello, everyone. Doing well. How are you?
Um, Tired.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Tired. So here's how it went down, everyone. On Friday, Lauren went to go take the dogs and the baby for a walk at about, hey, good to see you, Roman. Good to see Michelle, Linda, Christopher, we the people, Michelle. Um, all of you, it's great to see you. So Lauren went to go take the dogs for a walk on Friday at about noon. And she went to try to tie her shoes around her giant belly. And while she was struggling to tie her shoes around her enormous belly, um, she's like, man, I think I just peed myself, but I don't have to pee. So I'm like, well, that just means your water broke. And she's, yeah, but it wasn't that much. I'm like, well, then you might have like pushed out a little water while you were trying to tie the shoes around the belly, you know? And so she was in denial for a little bit. And then it's kept leaking and leaking. And I have been working on my wife. My wife is a procrastinator with a capital P. Okay. Capital giant P for procrastination. And over a month ago, I'm like, let's get the tank. Let's get all the heaters. Let's get all the stuff that we need just in case. Oh, don't worry. I'm going to go late. I'm going to go late. So this weekend, we were supposed to go take care of everything. Well, here it is on Friday. It's noon, and my wife starts going into labor. So I hop in the war wagon that you guys know, covered in head to toe of Patriot Crusader mission, and I go flying on a mission. I'm driving down the road. I'm like, oh my god, this is happening. So I got to go to Tractor Supply and get a 150-gallon tub full of water because Lauren wants to do a water birth. So I'm like, okay, get that, throw that in. Now I gotta go to Lowe's. I gotta go to Lowe's. I gotta get a big, garden hose. I gotta get a water like a pool cover, water pump to get it out, and a big long hose to connect and a fitting to connect to a shower. So you can have hot water, not the cold water that your son had for the baptism, but actually nice 99 to 101-degree water is what I was told. And so I get all the parts. Then I got to make another stop to get a net to clean out all the yuckies that come out during it. Thank you, Lauren. And so I get home. Now Lauren's really starting to look uncomfortable. The midwife is there, and there are more midwives coming, and none of the water's in the tank. Nothing's there. Nothing is set up, and Lauren and everyone's telling me to get water in the tub. So we hook it all up. I hook it all up at the speed of light. I take all these moving blankets that we have and I pad the bottom of the tub and I pad the sides. And then I take a 6 millimeter black tarp and put it over the blankets. And then we fill it. And we fill about 40 gallons of it from our hot water tub or from our hot water tank. and then it starts putting out cold water. Well, we didn't catch that right away. So instead of it being like 98 or 100, now it's like 90. So now I'm boiling water on the stove with all these pots and giant things going, and I'm running and I'm dumping and running and dumping and running and dumping. So we get the water in, and by a miracle, it's 100 and like between 101 and 103. It goes over her belly. Lauren's ready to deliver. She gets on her hands and knees under the water and delivers the baby like that, like in no time. Like I thought this was gonna be a late night. No, no late night. Lauren pushes the baby out. Boom, there's the baby. Baby's underwater, comes up, latches on, and it's done. And then I got to get rid of all this stuff. But anyways, it was great. Lauren was, I'll tell you, she does things with no pain meds, no nothing. Uh, you're sharing this, I'd kill you, Lauren. God bless. Yeah, so all this stuff, and it was great. So if you want to talk about natural birth, this is Lauren's second, and I believe she would tell you that a home birth is the only way to go. I mean, it was great not having doctors come in and constantly bother her and bother the baby and take the baby away and do all this stuff. No, it was all here like God made it to be, and it worked wonderful, and we're blessed. And now we just need sleep. So that's it on recap.
Well, congratulations. People are congratulating you and Lauren, and it's amazing story. And you said it was her second natural birth?
Yeah, this is her second
Uh-huh.
natural birth. So both of our kids, no drugs, no nothing. She did it boss mode. And let me tell you, Baby's Bees was a lot harder than this one and a lot rougher on her, but she's doing really, really, really good. And the baby's name is Anja Faith Perry, for those of you guys who wanted. Anja Faith Perry. So there you guys go. So I know there were some bets on the names out there, but Lauren went with Anja Faith at the last. Well, it's the funny thing is we were up late Thursday night, right? And I'm like, we need a name for this kid or whatever. As soon as we name Lauren will tell you, no lie. As soon as we named the kid, she got nauseous. She's like, I wonder if this is like, pre-delivery sickness. And it was, obviously. So God was just waiting for the name, and boom, there we had the name, and the train kept it rolling. So let me show you some pictures of the baby, and we'll go from there. So let me see here. Window. There we go. Come on. Pop this over here. And all right, here we go. And I will show this one. And we'll toggle that here. All right, so here we go. That's baby Anja right there, everyone. I know that you guys have been waiting to see her. And now I'll give you
she's beautiful.
Yeah, she is really look so much different than B. There is her big sister. Baby B has been has been a great baby sister. She loves being a baby sister. Loves being a baby sister almost too much, I think. But she wants to be all up in her grill all the time. But there you go. Those are the picks. And thank you so much, everyone, for your prayers. We greatly, greatly appreciate it. And, appreciate that, God answers prayers. We got a healthy baby girl. We got a healthy mama. It was a smooth, super smooth pregnancy. I'll tell you what, guys, from the guy's perspective, having a baby delivery at home, it gave me a lot to do, which I liked. I wasn't just sitting around, being coach. Like that's lame, right? I need something to do to feel like I'm doing a purpose and I'm contributing to the team. And this gave me something that was that was to do and made me felt like a part of the team, you know. So and then at the end I get to hold her hand and help her through it. But it got made me, instead of just sitting there while everyone else is doing everything and I'm feeling out of place, it really gave me a lot to do and I really liked it. Lauren will tell you she loved the water birth. It really relaxed her and just made everything great. The other thing I had to do that you might want to do is I had to go get a bunch of 4x4s, and lay them across the joists on the floor, right? The floorboards, to make sure that the weight from 1,200 pounds of water was dispersed appropriately, or else maybe we would have had a tub, a baby, and a mama, and an even shorter delivery in the basement. So it went great. Everything went great. Danae, good to see you. Che, great to see you. So that's that. That's all the baby talk. Are there any other baby questions you want to know? She was 7'3", 7 pounds, 13 ounces. And she looked so much different than B. B was all cheeks. Like she was just the fattest cheeks. Now she was 11 days late. And all I remember was looking at B coming out and she got stuck at her cheeks for like ever. That did not happen this time. So anyways, it was, yep, out. So now we just need prayers for sleep. Sleep. So the only one sleeping well in the house is baby B right now.
Cool. So I hope when you were preparing all the stuff there, Lauren didn't ask you continuously, "Are you done yet?"
I I mean, are we done having children or?
No. Are you done yet preparing the tub and everything?
Yeah, well, that's exactly what it was. Is it ready? Is it ready? Is it ready? I'm like, 10 more minutes. 10 more minutes. Hold on, 10 more minutes. I mean, there's a saying that, nothing causes time to move slower than watching a pot of water boil. Well, that was the case. And I had stuff in the stove. I had stuff. It's amazing. I didn't come away with like 3rd-degree burns. No burns, all good. And then the problem is the water is going to be 101, really 103 to 99. And you're putting in, when it's boiling, you're putting in 200-degree plus water. And and you're talking about 3 degrees. And as soon as I put it in, it was 101, done. Like, let's go.
Cool. We never had that. Yeah, we had 5 children, and all of them were delivered at the hospital, and I was present at 2 births. I wasn't as actually it was tough to get a permission, in a Russian hospital or Soviet. Our first daughter was born in 1983. So it was a no that a husband could be present. And
wow.
Yeah. So
what's up with that? Was that?
It's just crazy communist stuff, control,
Yeah.
So yeah, and then I had to get a permit with our second daughter, Paulina, who is 23. So, and then my last son, yeah, I was present.
I'll tell you, it was great. Lauren would tell you, I've never liked the hospital setting. I don't like being other people's guinea pigs. They run through with all their doctors in training and blah 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 blah, and they're doing redundant tests that are just interrupting your wife's thing, so people can get. I was in the medical field, I know, right? So, turning down, for the 10th rectal exam at the end of it because someone wants to, take turns putting their, doing rectal exams on your wife. You're like, no, get out of here. You're done, right? You got to do one. This isn't a party here. Get out, And so having it in the privacy of your home, particularly when you're close to that hospital if anything should go wrong. We were 10 minutes from the hospital. That's me doing the speed limit, which I would have definitely had not been. Uh, so it was great, man. It was great. But we have a lot of other things to talk about. One thing I want to talk about right now is I want to rage like I planned on Thursday. And my rage that I want to talk about is stupid, stupid, stupid law enforcement officers supporting the NFL when the NFL is supporting defund the police movements, BLM, and things that make their life absolutely ridiculous. I know that being a cop is a miserable experience. I know that all you guys want to do when you're not on shift, or unfortunately, a lot of you, most of what you want to do is just not think and not be a part of something and just kick back and just relax and zone out and forget about how miserable and how hard the job is of law enforcement. So many law enforcement officers get into sports. It's their thing they do. It's their escape. They do it with their kids. They do all these things. I'm not telling you not to go to your kid's basketball game, football game, whatever. I'm not saying that at all. I'm not telling you not, if your friend is playing, go out there and watch them. I'm just telling you, you better not be supporting the NBA, Major League Baseball, or some of these. I don't know about MLB, but probably MLB, but definitely the NFL and the NBA. They are supporting, they have donated hundreds of thousands of dollars and even millions to organizations that are directly defunding the police and directly moving to destroy or abolish the police. So for the love of God, have some respect for yourself, right? I've been there, brothers. I used to know everything about sports. I used to know everything about every play. I knew what Tom Brady had for breakfast when he was 12 in the middle of the summer on August 16th. That's how ridiculous it was. Obviously, I'm exaggerating. What did Tom Brady know about me? Zero. What does Tom Brady know about me today? Zero, right? He doesn't know my problems. He doesn't know what I've been through. He doesn't know anything, and he could care less. And I'm not saying Tom Brady's a great guy. He just doesn't know me, right? But you know who does? Jesus Christ knows me. Jesus Christ knows my pain. Jesus Christ knows my problems. Jesus Christ bled and died on the cross for me. So why are you giving all your time and your energy to a stupid kids game, right? I would abolish pro sports tomorrow. I would say, listen, we're done if I can have my way, right? It is useless. It's a waste of time, and it's there to distract you from what's really going on. If you're wrapped up in fantasy football reports and bad calls and blah, 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 I'm watching all this crap on CNN, not on CNN, on ESPN, which is might as well be CNN. All this garbage. You're not paying attention to what's going on around you. You're missing them moving pieces on the chessboard that is your life, right? You're over here looking over there, and they're taking pieces and putting themselves into places. So when you look back, it's checkmate against you. So for the love of God, police officers, thin blue line, I love you. Stop supporting sports. End rant. Andrew, you got anything to say?
Yeah, I can understand when people are fond of sports. I was when I was a kid, I was hooked on ice hockey with my dad, especially during Soviet and Canada cups. It was exciting for me, but then I kind of stopped watching it, and but yeah, I can understand people watching it. But as you said, if this if NFL or other organizations are investing huge money into BLM and defund the police movement, how can you be a policeman or a military man and continue investing in it? I cannot understand. I have a hard time.
Self-destruction, it's self-deception, and it's not. I mean, it's a sickness. It really is. It's. They don't understand. Like they don't understand they're in a war against them. They just. I mean, some of them even vote Democrat. Usually, the black police officers will vote for Democrats, even though they 100% do everything they can to make their life hell. And I remember my union telling me to vote for Obama when I was in office, not when I was a cop. And I'm like, you're out of your mind. And they're like, oh, Joe Biden's pro cop. He's going to get us all this money and all these jobs. I'm like, yeah, but they're going to put an attorney general in there that's going to change everything. They're going to be woke. No. Well, I didn't listen to them. And then now the whole union realized they made a terrible mistake. And now they endorse Republican candidates. But it's too late. Look at where we're at. We're now, let's see, 4, 8, 12, 13 years down the road. And what Eric Holder did with Ferguson and all the rest, and what these corporations, these sports teams, by embracing BLM, putting Jay-Z on the relationship board for Black relations with the NFL. I mean, that tells you everything you need to know right there. It's really self-destructive. It's a sickness. And of course, instead of when they're watching football on Sunday, where are they not? In church. Where are they not? Usually with their families. Where are they not? They're teaching their kid that the sport is more important than God, right? It's completely out of balance. It's a sickness, and it's sad.
Yeah, and another thing, if you keep voting for those who hate you, who hate the police, what is this? Stupidity or just total lack of responsibility for your family? Because I've met cops here who, in the midst of this craziness, even in the beginning, I had a neighbor who worked for police for maybe 20 years, but he quit. And I asked him, why did you quit? He said, well, it's unbearable. I cannot do it anymore in the midst of all this hate. So how can you do that? How can you keep supporting them? I cannot understand that, whether it's totally stupid or people don't care. That's hard.
They're
it's hard for me.
broken, deceived people who, you got to remember that most of them live in complete Democrat strongholds. What are most cities? Democrat hellholes, right? And most of them, as Christopher said here, Chris was a former FBI employee, I think bomb tech, if I can say that. But he says, and a lack of education, a total denial of the hate against them. Right. They don't understand. They think these people are just playing the woke game for whatever. No, they are going out of their way to make cops' lives hell. What's on the field? Most of them, there's some great people in the field, but there are a lot of hardcore thugs on the field, murderers and bad guys who are there. The only reason why they're not in prison or they're not in jail is why? Because they can play a sport, right? Because they can play a sport and they can throw a ball, or they can run faster, or they can do whatever, right? And it's a shame. It's a shame. They graduate college not being able to read or do math. They get pushed through to the system. They go on there, and it's an absolute travesty. And it's and then you have people like Colin Kaepernick saying that this is the best, that the draft is like being a slave. Being a slave in America back in the day, because they measure everything. Now, white players, black players, Chinese players, all these people are choosing people based upon their skill, aptitude, decision-making process. They're measuring all those things, and you're making millions of dollars. And it's your choice if you want to go there or not, right? You can walk away at any time if you don't want. It's the most ridiculous thing, and it's why the American, why their ratings are at an all-time low, which is they don't care. You know why? Because they're not after American ratings. They're after Chinese ratings now.
Yeah, and another thing is the left, what I know from the history of my country and what I've learned here and in other countries. The left always hates its own country,
Yeah.
especially if they haven't gained the full power yet. So the
Mhm.
left here in the States, they want to destroy the US as it is. Well, not annihilate it, of course, but destroy the capitalism, destroy it as it is, and make it like all the rest of European countries. That's the goal. Uh, I don't think the goal is to build a real socialism because they don't understand that. But they want to make it like other European countries, and they think that if they help to undermine the economy, military power, and so on, they will be closer to their goal. And they've been doing it from time immemorial, like from the 30s, I believe. And just the other day, I discovered some horrendous facts. I knew about that, but not to such a degree that the betrayal of America has been going on for so long. During the Second World War, uh, one of the spies, Soviet spies, who talked about it. He descended to the U.S. He said the names of the people who betrayed Americans or betray American military power during the Manhattan Project, the atomic bomb, and so on, could be like a phone book. So many names
Yeah.
there. That they not only sold, not they didn't even sell, but they just gave away all the secrets to the communists. Not only this, but they actually transported uranium and other materials right from the United States to the Soviet Union. That's
Wow.
how gross was the betrayal. And it was the left. The
Yeah.
left was always in bed with the communists in the Soviet Union, secretly, of course, not openly, but sometimes almost openly. It's outrageous what they did to this country and what they're doing to this country.
Well, and the same thing is going on today um, with major corporations, right? These international global corporations out there, the McKinsey Group, Marsh McLennan, you name them, GE, you name them, whoever you want to pick, right? They're all involved in selling out America, right? They're all trying to be a part of that vacuum, that permanent donor base, right? Where they fund the left does what they do. They put in bills and stipulations so that they get their carve outs so that they can continue to be billionaires and do what they do. And it's sad that America's corporate greed and access to Chinese markets and Americans, yes, you and I, all of us, are addicted to cheap Chinese junk. And because of that, we sold our country out for stuff. We gave away our freedoms and we powered up and we leveled up and empowered our enemy at our great expense to have more crap that is going to break in a year or in 6 months or in a week. And it's absolutely heartbreaking. The other part where you can see this corruption incarnate is insider trading that Congress is allowed to do. It's absolutely despicable. It's absolutely should be illegal. There's no way you can look at it and say it's on the up and up. If you want to know how Nancy Pelosi and all these politicians become loaded, it's because when they know who's going to get the new helicopter contract, they know beforehand and they buy all that stock. They just went through this where Nancy Pelosi's husband bought a ton of Microsoft stock right before Microsoft got a big government contract, and then they made a ton of money. This happens over and over again. They asked her on camera, I think it was Steve Doocy from Fox, should you be able to do that? And she said, absolutely. Right? You can't do that. If you did that, you'd go to jail. Right? Rules for thee, but not for me. It's absolutely disgusting. We need to clean house and get rid of all this corruption in here, and try to take and put patriots and people who actually love America instead of loving themselves. Right now, all you have is a bunch of people who want the spotlight and who just love themselves, and it sucks. There are those who are not like that. The Dan Crenshaws and others who are there, who are fighting the good fight. But man, it is so corrupt.
Absolutely. And it's sad to see the Republican Party members at times selling out their country.
Just as
For
bad. Just as bad. Like
yeah,
for
yeah,
Google and Facebook, same thing. It's disgusting.
yeah. I hear they have the same sponsors like the Democrats. They get the same money, so it's very corrupt. This should be exposed. And of course, when the left controls the media, it is very hard to expose because, unfortunately, still, if not the majority, but a lot of people watch this woke mass media outlets, and they believe what they're told. They're totally controlled. So I don't know. I've heard President Trump and his assistants and stuff, they working at starting a platform. I don't know how close they are to it, but again, it 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 needs to grow. Conservative.
Your sound is going in and out a little bit. All right, you're back.
Yeah. So we need to get into media. That's what I've been saying. Like conservatives. Do you know how far Trump is from starting his platform?
I don't. I would say I'm just guessing, but with all the attention that it's getting, I'm guessing it's probably, I don't know, a year to 18 months away is what I'm imagining. If he's going to do it right, he can't rush it. It takes a long time to do this. He's got to throw a lot of money at it, or else he's going to run into, what Mike Lindell ran into, which is people hacking in and causing all problems. And, it's going to have to be, a darn near flawless launch, which Facebook wasn't. Facebook was new and it was a new genre and it had time to mature. Right now we're living in the most dangerous time because we're in a vacuum moment. And I've said this multiple times on the show. Maybe you weren't there, Andrew, but where after 2020 election, when Parler got kicked off our phones, right? And then we're like, whoa, what is this? I own this phone. I can put one on it what I want. No, you can't get Parler on your phones anymore. And then when Amazon deplatformed them and took them off their servers, that was the first time where I think us or not us, a lot of us knew we had to do this, but that was the wake-up call for conservative America to say, listen, you can't just go build your own Facebook because they'll kick you off their servers. You have to have your own service. You have to have your own internet. You have to have all these different pieces now. I can't wait till I can throw away my Apple phone or on my Verizon phone or whatever, and I can get something that is not, communist or doesn't support them. Right now, it's absolutely disgusting, but our entrepreneurs in America are all working at a breakneck pace. And unfortunately, all of them went into the social media business, right? And they all created a bunch of competitors for themselves. And all they did was split the same people over and over and over and over again. So Parler kind of worked and it was taken off. Then you had MeWe. MeWe's doing nothing. You got Gab now. You've got, hold on, I can tell you how many that I have on here that I haven't even logged into in forever. You got CloutHub, who does anything with that. Wimkin, on and on and on and on. There's just so much crap out there that no one wants to. It becomes an echo chamber, and it's not very functional. And that's not where we should be fighting our opinions, anyways, right? We have to fish in the biggest pond or the biggest ocean possible, which is Facebook. If all the conservatives are already on the other platform, whose mind are you changing? None. You're just sitting in an echo chamber, right? So fine, if you want to go plan over there, go plan over there. But we got to be having this debate, and we got to be red pilling people one at a time. I mean, Bill Maher looks like he's been red pilled as far as I can tell. That guy has been going out to the left nonstop for a while. I'm sure he's still a donkey. I'm sure he's still gonna say stupid things, and he's probably, insane as it goes. But he at least is correcting and holding his own party accountable for once, which nobody normally does.
Yeah. People like Joe Manchin in the Democrat Party, it's amazing that there are some people like this, and he's a hero right now, right?
He's a hero right now, but he's in a very red state. I don't know why he's still got a D next to his name, right? I mean, historically, coal towns up until Trump, a little bit before the green agenda, right? Before the green agenda, coal miner towns were union towns, which were blue towns. So for decades, West Virginia was deep blue because it was a coal mining town, a state. And then the green agenda came about. They turned their back on coal, and then it became red. And now it's a deep red state. But with all that blue Democrat money, leadership, West Virginia is still terrible for business, has a lot of bad laws, and has the corruption of the Democrats all around it. Now, I hope that Manchin actually turns Republican, and that would flip the Senate, and we would be off and running, right? But I don't know what's going to happen. But this is obviously going to be war on him. He's got, children, AOC, and the other two. I'm not even going to say the bald one, the two that wear the turbans or whatever. Ayanna Pressley, and then the other two members of the squad, the Arab ones, the one Somali and the other one I'm not sure what. Already screaming at him and calling him names and all this other stuff. Just children. Like, they have no idea what politics are. They came in on this radical, leftist woke garbage wave, and they have no idea how to be diplomats, unfortunately.
Yeah, you have to have guts. And it's not like in Russia when you come out as in opposition, strong opposition to Putin. You may lose your life. They can shoot you right by the Kremlin wall, like Nemtsov was killed, and many others. They can poison you anywhere in the world with polonium. Or with a nerve agent. But here, I'm still surprised that so many politicians don't have guts just to say no, like Manchin. So that's why I admire him. So I hope that he stays that way. And I heard today that he probably is going to be independent. At least independent would be great for him.
Yeah,
but we need more politicians like that for sure, and we need to elect them.
Well, and there is some selfish motives for this. Like, he is from a forgotten state that has zero power, and he's become the most powerful person in the Senate. Like, nobody cares about West Virginia one bit. Everyone in America knows Joe Manchin's name right now, right? And it's because he's holding the line. So there is some benefit to this, that it does put him as a power broker. How he handles this is going to dictate. Nancy Pelosi, is going to be retiring soon. Anyways, there's a lot of different, and Schumer needs to go away. I mean, who knows, right now. He's obviously lost the thing of his party, but if he came on, like Republicans hate Mitch McConnell, I'd love to see him gone, right?
Yeah.
You know, so again, it's interesting. Like Susan Collins is used to be in this for us, right? She's a Republican in name only, and then takes like, you know, and then chooses to stab us in the back all the time on big issues, whether it be Supreme Court nominees, et cetera. So, you know, she voted to impeach Trump. Example, she's in a very blue state of Maine, right? Maine is a very unique place. The northern part of it, which is, you know, very rural, is red. The southern part of it is extremely blue, right? And, you know, she's attached to the northern part. She's in Bangor, but yeah, I don't understand that political reality up there. How anyone can vote for such people as that. But I think, you know, Manchin, if he was on my side, I'd be pissed. I'm glad he's principled because the Democrat agenda is insane. This is no longer a like minutia. It's no longer, minor details. It's now let's bankrupt the world, the entire country, and change our immigration system, and do all this other garbage and destroy our grandkids' lives.
Yeah, and abort the babies. You know,
Yeah.
I just cannot understand how Christians in this country could vote for Democrats, and if Christians who are actively going to attending churches, if these Christians would vote a Republican or conservative but not Democrat, I believe the Democrats would have no chance in holding the Capitol Hill or getting elected as presidents. But
Yeah.
and even in California, like states in California, they have a lot of Christians there. A lot of almost all mega churches are there, right? So, but what are they doing by their faith? How do they vote? That's another thing. I think we as Christians should first of all somehow affect Christians and teach them. And obviously, the pastors of these mega churches, or not even just average churches, they don't teach that, unfortunately. So that's got to change.
Well, the black churches have been teaching politics and have been preaching politics from nonstop since their formation here. And back to our roots, back in America's formation, the elections were held in the church, and the pastor would give an election day sermon on the issues and on the candidates, and say and go down the list what the Bible supports and what the Bible does not support. And the left figured out that they could not win an election if they didn't get the election out of the churches and separate them. So they found the Danbury Baptist letter from Thomas Jefferson, and you had a bunch of crazy judges separate church and state, which was never the intent. It was to keep the government out of church, not keep the church out of the government. Right. They've totally misconstrued it. So we have to, which is what this show and what PCM is about. It's about reading the Bible and teaching people how to apply that to all their lives. Now, I get a lot of grief online with all my posts and people telling me, don't make Christianity political. And I'm like, what part of your life does Christ not want? I'm just curious. Can you tell me what part that is? Can you tell me what part of you Christ does not want? No, he wants all of you, and he wants your politics. And your politics are the law of the land. We are Caesar here. We are Caesar. We don't get to blame it on some dictator that we had nothing to do with, right? And just say we're following orders. We vote for Caesar here.
Yeah. Absolutely. So I believe that when Jesus Christ came to establish his kingdom, and he did, and his kingdom has been expanding and growing. In some countries, shrinking at times, but overall, it's been expanding. But the goal was to penetrate every area of life in the society and to use Christians in every area of life, especially politics, because politics controls life. Politics
Exactly.
controls so many things. And if Christians avoid that, abstain from that, then guess who is going to control your life?
Well, we get what
So,
we get now. We got a bunch of woke pastors out there who think that, they're voting for open borders because they think that, that's biblical and that Jesus was a socialist. And this is what they teach. This is literally what they
crazy.
teach,
It's
that,
crazy.
that Jesus was a socialist and love is love. And these are the same people who endorse homosexuality, endorse abortion, endorse, governmental theft, endorse 122 genders, endorse all these crimes against God and God's word. And they have nothing to stand on other than a pitiful, thin, weak theology that the mega church watered down to not offend. When you are preaching, people should be leaving your church. You should be offending them. I I firmly believe that you should be speaking so harshly that they should be offended of the sin in their life. And if they're brave, they'll sit in the chair and take it. But we're weak, and people will get up and walk out. Ken Graves, one of my mentors says, when I'm traveling and I'm pastoring and people aren't walking out, I'm not preaching hard enough. Right? In
Yeah.
his own church, people come there for him. But when he goes to California to some hippie church and gets up there and starts doing this, he's like, I love seeing a line go out the door.
Christians keep forgetting that one of the names of Jesus was a stumbling block. He when he preached, even his disciples would leave, and question him and so on. So he was a stumbling block, and he is a stumbling block. So if you preach the gospel, if you preach Jesus, you are going to be part of that stumbling, and you better be, because we are in a war, right? We are not going to. We are not called to appease the enemy. We are called to scatter the enemy with the help of God. And how can you do it if you kiss up to their agenda? Right? It's a joke. It's a total joke. So many churches and many pastors, unfortunately to say, are a joke. And we need to change that. And I believe, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and that's the part of the big problem with that is academia across the board, including the seminaries, has been invaded. Right? It's been funded by George Soros and others, and they're pushing the political woke leftism from the top down in seminaries. So now people who are supposed to be men of God don't even believe in God. Right? It's gotten to the point where it's just a great, easy way to get $100,000 job. You join a congregation, you get $100,000 job. You get up there, you do babies, you do this, you rip some series off the screen, offline, and it's terrible, man. It's terrible. I am constantly searching now because everyone's putting their sermons online, trying to find churches of truth that I can align with, right? Trying to find churches who I can actually respect, who will put their beliefs on their page. That they believe like a marriage is between a man and a woman, one man and one woman. Like, I can't find that anywhere anymore. Like, no one is putting that anywhere. Like, no one, right? They cover it. And I don't know if they're trying to avoid hate. I don't know if some rule went out, but there's none of that. There's no, I believe in two genders, right? Male and female. There's no, we believe any of the things that are of our time right now. There's no, we are pro-life. We believe that life starts at conception. And this used to be on every church I ever went to 10 years ago. Now I'm seeing none of it, Andrew. They're all hiding.
Yeah, yeah. I know. When I came here, at first several years, I kept just being shocked almost every day of what I saw in the church and among Christians and so on. Um, and still, I can't get used to it, and I won't, hopefully. Um, but I remember, when I drove for Uber, and I had a lot of people in my car, and had some interesting conversations, and sometimes I had Christians who, one of them said, after I told her I'm a Christian, I pastored in Russia for 20 years, and she said, and we just, my mother and I left the church. I said, why? We changed churches because, can you imagine, the pastor in our old church said that a marriage is only between a man and a woman. Can you imagine that? I said, what are you talking about?
He's quoting the Bible.
And it's just people are freaking out of this. Maybe I think because it is so rare nowadays that pastors are preaching about it and teaching, and just wondering about these mega church pastors or average church pastors who are totally okay with the so-called gay marriages and transgender. Are they coming from? Are they coming from the Bible classes? From those churches that were in the 90s, 80s, 70s. From Sunday schools. What did they teach really? I'm not that familiar with that, but maybe you know.
Well, I can tell you that you got to remember I was an atheist for a long time, so I didn't go through any of this stuff. But I can tell you what scholars like Vodi Bakum and John MacArthur and those who have been studying this and dealing with this for a long time, it's been hyper grace. Hyper grace is the enemy of everything. When you go to hyper grace, you can do whatever you want, and Jesus loves you just as you are, right where you are, and you don't have to do anything. It's a very dangerous, dangerous concept.
Yeah, we need to really understand it well, because the gospel teaches that it's not of our works, right? But by faith and through His grace. But at the same time, if you teach that just love God and do whatever, that's that's an abomination. That's against the Gospels. If you are doing what everybody else does, every sinner does, and you claim you are a Christian, then I have a big question that you are a Christian. Let alone God. He said, if
Yeah.
you love me, keep my commandments. So if you don't love Him, you love something else. So that's a big question. So yeah, we need
Usually
to
it's
clarify
self.
that.
Well, and that's the part of it, right? That's the part where everyone, the hyper grace people out there, the Joel Osteens, the TD Jakes, the everyone else who, you know, um, is out there teaching this hyper grace garbage. It is by faith alone that we are saved. That is correct. But what does true faith look like? Right? There is fire insurance. I love God, but I'm not going to change a single thing I'm doing. Right? And I'm going to dishonor Him in all that I do, showing that I don't love God. Right? It's just like the guy who says he loves his wife and cheats on her with everybody else out there and beats her and does everything
Yeah,
else. Right?
absolutely.
That is the danger of hyper grace. And that's where all this comes in. Because once you can do whatever you want, um, well, and Jesus, if God is only love, right? Well, what love is that? Is that the love of now, which is, hey, I love you so much I can't discipline you? Right. That's what parents say. That's a love of yourself, not a love for your child. Right. You want to be popular with your child instead of taking corrective action and empowering your child to make good decisions for the rest of their life. Like there's so much weak sauce out there that we have to stand on. And again, it's tackling these issues of hyper grace. It's being able to figure out what you believe, why you believe it, and then being able to defend it, which is the whole purpose of the Bible study that I'm starting on the 3rd of January, which is Monday at 10 a.m. Monday through Friday. We're going to start at Genesis 1:1 all the way to the back. And it's going to take us years to get there, but we're going to go line by line, verse by verse, and figure out what we believe, why we believe it, and then be able to defend it. And we may disagree on quite a few things, and that's okay, as long as you can figure out what you believe, why you believe it, and defend it, right? There are multiple viewpoints in the Bible that are the small things that your salvation is not dependent on. And we will explore those, and we will talk about those at length. And that is where iron sharpens iron, my friends. But this whole hyper grace garbage where, if I hear one more person say, I'm on my own walk. Well, if you're on your own walk, how many times are you going to beat the nail into Christ's hands? How many times are you going to scourge him off the back when you could turn around right now and stop doing that? You could stop doing that right now, but you won't. Why? Because it's too hard. Because you can't get out of your own freaking way. Because you're too proud, which means you're too weak, right? That's what that means. You're too weak to take accountability for your actions and stop doing that drugs. Stop doing this, that, the other thing, right? And that's the shame of it. Stop cheating on your wife. Stop looking at porn. Stop. You pick your sin. There's a million of them, right? So I want to get into conversations with Christians. He's put up 2 things here, and I want to push back on one of the things he said. There are some things that the Bible equips pastors to preach on: morality issues, abortion, etc., and other things pastors should avoid. What should the tax rates be, et cetera, et cetera. So I agree with you on the front part. I just don't agree with you on the one that you chose there on the tax rates. So there are things that pastors have no idea about that they shouldn't be weighing in on one way or another if they don't do their homework, if it doesn't apply to things. But governmental theft, the redistribution of wealth, involuntary redistribution of wealth, which is the tax code, is one of those things that I think that they should be weighing in on. So I don't know, Andrew, do you have anything to say about that?
Yeah. I kind of think of a single topic that a pastor should avoid, really. I cannot think of anything. Maybe of such a topic.
I'm trying to think of something that I wouldn't know about. That
I mean, you can always invite somebody who is an expert, right?
Right,
I mean,
right.
use the church. What do you call it? The pulpit, right? Use the church pulpit to teach and equip the saints in every area of life and apply spiritual principles from the Bible. Jesus was doing that, exactly that. He touched upon economics, right, and politics, and of course spiritual things. But again, we are not to differentiate between spiritual and non-spiritual, because for a Christian everything is spiritual, right? Politics is spiritual for Christians. So I cannot think really of anything that you should avoid.
I would say, trade policy, tariffs with, I don't know. I mean, you pick the nuance. Obviously, what's fair is fair, and you're going to want to say what's fair is fair, right? I mean, fairness and justice is our biblical principles. So I would struggle to conversations with Christians, if you want to take another swing at that. I can't make your argument for you. I just don't agree with the tax rate on there. So, but he does come in and says so many of the hot political topics today are morality issues, and as a result, any people, I think he says many people, but it says any people see the president as a great moral arbiter, which he really shouldn't be. No, I do not see Joe Biden as a great moral arbiter. I see him as an incompetent, bumbling fool and a liar and a phony. The guy has gotten more stolen valor on him for things that he said he's done, that he's proven that he hasn't done, from his plagiarism to everything else, to all the stories he's told, that before they people, he realized people, for 30 years, he told lies about doing heroic things that weren't him, and they were other people, and he was stealing their valor. He's got more stolen valor than all the bars in North America right now, with all the phony SEALs out there pretending to be SEALs. Joe Biden, you take them all up, and Joe Biden's got them beat. The only one who's probably got a better beat more is Hunter, right? Hunter Biden with God knows what he says when he's on another crack binge and doing God knows what he's doing. But anyways, I don't know where I was going with that. So there are so many hot political topics today. And America has drifted from God. In every single case, the Democrats are on the opposite side of God in every single instance. A lot of people want to say immigration is open borders is something that Jesus would be for. I don't believe that. I don't believe that when a country is bankrupt like ours, when we're failing to feed the people of Israel, right? Meaning our own America, when we have homelessness here, when we are in debt, when we are borrowing on our kids' heads right now. That's literally what we're doing right now. We are borrowing to the fifth generation right now in debt, right? That's how bad we are right now. That's how evil and lazy and selfish we are. To keep getting big TVs and cheap stuff, we are now on our great grandkids, we're shifting that debt onto right now, right? I don't think Jesus would be for any of that. And the only way you can do that is by shutting down your borders, by actually, Jesus is all about taking care of the poor. Take care of the poor, but you don't borrow to take care from the poor. You take care of the poor with your own excess and with the sweat of your brow. You got anything you want on that? Say on that?
Absolutely. Being an immigrant, I can share my story just in short. We came 7 years ago to this country, and we had to flee persecution. And when we came, we had to wait for about half a year to apply for our asylum status. So, and then we had to wait another half year till we got our interview, and then we had to wait for 3 or 4 more years to get our asylum. And I asked, the agency, the immigration agency, and the lawyers, what's going on? Why does it take so long? And I was told that because of the open borders, that's because of these great numbers of children who were pushed over the border, and they were taught by their parents to claim asylum. And all asylum officers went there or took interviews over the phone, and they were head over heels in work, and they couldn't process us who came legally. So, yeah. And I'm still waiting for my green card 7 years later. Okay. So when you open the borders and when you give preference to illegal immigrants, you stop legal immigration. Okay, you stop those who came without breaking any law, who came at their own expense. I sold my house in Russia, and I had to live on something because I couldn't work for more than half a year, so even more than a year. So I spent all this money, on this because I couldn't legally work, and I didn't work legally, illegally. So that's what's going on. On the one hand, they are talking, oh, these poor immigrants. They're not immigrants. They're breaking the law.
They're
They're crossing the
invaders.
border. Yeah,
They're invaders.
if you illegally cross a border in Russia, you're going to jail for at least 5 years or
Right.
even more.
Yeah. And that's crazy because Russia has a dying population, right? They have a population
Yeah.
problem over there, but
Oh,
at
yeah.
least they have sovereign borders because they understand you can't have security without borders. The problem is the Democrat Party wants to displace the American voter, by making a bunch of illegals legal and giving them voting rights. That's always been the plan. It always will be their plan. And that's the only way they can stay relevant because their ideas are so terrible and they're so bankrupt. They have to bribe people with citizenship to get them to vote for them. Their problem is these people who are fleeing hellholes, I don't think are going to vote as blue as they think because they know what they just came from and they're going to recognize these same tactics. You can't tell people who just fled these hellholes, when they're voting and they're watching the same thing that just happened in their country 20, 30, 40 years before happen here. You think they're going to vote for that again? There's nowhere else for them to run, right?
Well, if you give them handouts every time, like Biden was planning to give those so-called families who were separated $450,000.
Yeah, that's insanity. But I mean, the biggest case in point of this is Cuba. Cubans, right, who came from communists, who have Fidel Castro, they don't vote Democrat. They vote Republican 100%. Now, so because they came, they understand, they're educated, they're there. And that's why, they're not, they've lost their preferential treatment under this White House because they don't vote the way that the Democrats want. But that's a great example of a community, right? Particularly the Latino community. Go ahead.
Yeah, but there's a big difference between Cubans and like Guatemalans, say, because Cuba still has a very harsh communist regime. At the same time, the Central America and South American countries, they're not purely socialist. They just failed states, totally corrupt. So people are not educated on what socialism is. So they might vote for this here, but Cubans are totally different. Like those who, like me, lived under communists in the Soviet Union, they're different, or from Ukraine, or from any Eastern European country. If they're old enough, they hate communism, right?
Yeah.
So, but unfortunately, the people in South America, it's different.
Yeah, when I look at the culture and I look at, many of them are Catholic, many of them are anti-LGBTQ, many of them are conservative by nature. They're macho, right? They're Latino has more in common with the Republican or with the conservative, being men are men and women are women, than they're ever going to have with the rainbow flag and 122 unicorn agendas with all this stuff. I mean, I'm not going to say they're perfect because I don't think they're perfect. And I do believe there are takers. And I do believe if you look at the classic case would be Somalians. Somalians who came from a hellhole come here and betray their country. We have one in our Congress right now who does it publicly every day, right? The most ungrateful thing, taken from the worst country in the world, given everything. People voted for her. She's in Congress and she hates America. Like, I don't understand it, right? So there are certain things, but culturally, when you look at cultures, when I look at African culture, I don't see that, right? When I look at Latino culture as a whole, I've been to I'm not Cuba. I've been to Colombia. I've been to, several other countries that I can't say. They, as a people, resemble us more morally, not the church, but the ideals of men are men, women are women, women are hyper feminine, men are masculine, and whatever. That does not fit in the Democrat Party, and they're not going to vote for the trans species, whatever. I think that by the Democrats embracing the demonic LGBTQ madness, they can't win anything anymore because they're denying what is. You're looking at a dude and you're telling me it's a woman. No, it's a dude. Give me a needle. I'll prove it right now. We'll draw some DNA. I'll pluck a hair and I'll show you that that's a dude. But anyways, go ahead.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you, and time will tell. But I believe that the Democrat agenda is going to be weakened more and more, and will be destroyed eventually. That's what I believe.
Yeah, I believe it as well. They can't maintain their ridiculous standard. They will turn on themselves and they will eat themselves. That's what happens when you have an impossible litmus test of everyone's a racist and everyone's got, this, that eventually no one's pure enough to pass the test. I want to get to this comment here again, where Conversations with Christians is back. And I appreciate the thoughtful comments. Brother. So I wouldn't say that there is a particular topic Christians should avoid, but the charge of a pastor is to preach the word. That is limiting in some senses. I would say that the word is not limited in any senses, but I understand what you're trying to say. And then he says, here he goes. He said, so, and then he brings up a great example here. An example would be Greg Locke, a pastor in my area. Can be hard to tell the difference between a political rally and some of his worship services. So I like Greg Locke. Okay, I'm going to say that out there. I do not believe Greg Locke is infallible. For example, I'll give you an example. I like the man, and I give him hype. If there's one person I give a lot of grace to, I won't say hyper grace, but I give him a lot of grace because the man is constantly under attack. Just like I gave Trump a lot of grace because Trump was constantly under attack. When you're constantly getting punched in the face and the gut, and it's hard to get an articulated thought out. It's hard to not react. When you get, I don't know if you've ever been slapped or punched or whatever. When you're sparring with your buddy and you're supposed to be going 25%, right? You're just working through forms in the moment, and he stings you accidentally with a 50% punch, right? It hits your head and waters your eyes. What do? Well, then you hit him with a 75, and then he hits you with 100, and you're going, right? So it's just when you're a counter puncher and when you're doing some things, it's hard to not get heated. So I give him a lot of grace for the fire and for the good that I think that he's doing. Now, here's where I disagree with Greg Locke. Greg Locke is anti-mask. I'm anti-mask. I don't think they work. I think they're a waste of time. I think it's ridiculous. But if people want to wear them in the church, I'm not going to tell them they can't. Right? All I care is that they're here, and I'm not going to make other people mask up because they want to. If they want to mask up and they want to go over in their little mask section, go for it. I don't care. Right? You're here to hear the word of God. I don't know your medical background. I don't know what's going on. It's none of my business. I'm glad you're here. Have a nice day. But I'm not going to force everyone else to do it. And I'm not going to force, you to take it off. And he banned them from coming in his service. They had to stay in their cars if they were going to wear masks because he didn't want to see masks. I disagree with that. Right? So that's a point where I think his politics got in the way of, and his passions got in the way of some sound judgment there. The other thing is sometimes he makes it about him because he's constantly being attacked. It's when you're being attacked, and I get attacked a lot too, nowhere near when he gets attacked. When you're getting attacked and they're attacking you, it's easy to say things from the first person when you're supposed to be talking about God because you're getting attacked all the time, and it becomes reflexive. So that's it. And then the last thing that Conversations with Christians said, and to be clear, I'm about as politically conservative as they come. I'm sure you are, brother. And I'm not trying to disagree with you, but I'm just trying to frame things so we can understand it, and this iron can sharpen iron. Go ahead, Andrew, if you got anything to weigh on that.
There should be balance, of course. If all you hear at a service, a church service, is politics, that's out of balance. Of course, that's not right. But we're talking about, that a pastor or a teacher church can touch upon any subject, right? uh, and should at times. If When I was a pastor in Russia, when Putin was destroying the remnants of democracy, how could I keep mum?
Right.
Many pastors, the majority of pastors, they didn't say anything. They kept silent and still are silent, unfortunately. But some didn't were not silent, including me. So I took that opportunity to use my pulpit to tell the people the truth, because otherwise they wouldn't hear it from anywhere, because all mass media was under total control of Putin. So there are times for these things, but at the same time, you wouldn't hear me talking just about politics. No way. I would touch
Right.
upon it maybe once a month or so, but I would give it to people how I understand how what the truth is about what's going on, how he destroys the country, so that they could learn that and vote. Or as people were asking me, what can I do now? They are so powerful. And I told them, you know what you can do? You can tell your neighbor, you can tell your colleague at work, just don't be afraid of telling the truth. That's our call as Christians. One of the major calls, to tell the truth, about what's going on, what's behind that fight, that war. So we are called to do this. So that's what I believe.
No, I agree, and that's where one of the things that I live by is I will when I'm around people and we're talking about things and discussing things, I will usually, if it's somebody who I don't care what they necessarily believe, right? That's not a friend. It's not somebody I'm trying to. It's somebody who I know is crazy, right? It's somebody who that I can't possibly get. The only time I'll push back is when they say something that's untrue, because if I don't challenge that truth, I become that lie. I become complicit in that lie, right? When they tell me what they like and what they don't like, I don't care, right? That means nothing to me. But when they say something untrue, all of us are called to step in, particularly with your family members, right? Your family members, when you're around the dinner table and out of the sake for peace around the holiday table, you let a lie like, love is love go in there, and that, God made, gay is gay. You let that land on that table and you don't challenge that, you've just endorsed that lie to be true. And particularly as men of the house and as leaders of the family, you are their guardian. You are your family's guardian. As pastors, you are that church's guardian. You cannot not challenge those untruths as they come your way. You have to dispute and 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 speak against every lie there is when it comes to those things. And if you don't, your silence is agreement. That
Amen.
is what people don't understand. So a couple comments that Christopher said here that were good, but it was just not the right time. So some of the problem is we Americanize the young to be weak and they become takers, talking about it. Well, that's because we turn them over to our school system, which is a brainwashing center, which is by design, right? I think after COVID, one of the gifts of COVID, if there was one, is that parents got to see what schools were teaching. And the Great Awakening has become, there's a reason why, the FBI is calling parents the next terrorist group or whatever. It's ridiculous, right? Because they saw the garbage their kids were doing for the first time. They were on autopilot. Oh, you got an A, you got a B, yeah, C, whatever, who cares? But all of a sudden they're sitting there at home and they're hearing the lectures and social media is leaking stuff out. And they're like, what in the hell have I been paying for? And they're waking up. So that's the good part, right? That's the good part. The hard part is, um, you know, um, sustaining the fight. When you're mad, it's easy to fight. What do you do when your blood cools, right? What happens when your blood cools and now you're tired and you don't want to fight anymore, right? And that's when it's dangerous. That's when the enemy will keep pushing and pushing and pushing, and then it's too late for you to fight back. So you have to be consistent. You have to declare yourself. You have to stand in truth, step forward, and be a part of this. You're either in this fight or you're a couch potato, right? And you're a born victim. And I don't have time for born victims. I only invest in people who want to be part of the solution. I have a limited amount of time. God is gonna punch my ticket one day soon, right? It could be soon, could be 30 years, it could be tomorrow, it could be in the next minute. I am only going to invest my time in people who bear fruit. Period. Right? There's no time for anything else. Jesus talks about this in the Bible over and over and over. Right? And so, I caution you to stop wasting time on people that will not bear fruit. If they come and they start asking you questions, and maybe the Lord has turned their heart of stone into flesh, re-engage. But until then, be working on the next one and the next one and the next one, and the ones that bear fruit. Go ahead, Andrew. I'm sure you have plenty to say on that.
Yeah, I agree. But the only people is that you need to keep punching, so to speak, and telling them the truth and influencing them is your children.
Yep.
All the rest, yeah, I agree. Don't try to change somebody's opinion. Jesus would say that you are not of my flock. If you were, you would listen to my voice. But he was not trying to change their opinion. He was just preaching the truth. And if they didn't believe him, he said, well, you are of your father. So, and talking about Americanizing children, so on, that lies entirely on the family, right?
You nailed it.
Yeah, I don't believe this thing. Okay, that you have a great family, you train your children, you educate them, you teach them, and then some school or some college messes them up. You are supposed to build the core for your children. Um, I know things may get turned pretty sour, but in general, if you invest in your children, if you, like Jason said, if you don't shy from telling them the truth, no matter how uneasy it may be, if you instill this in your children, then no school is going to corrupt them. That's what I believe. And the main thing is faith. That's what we are to teach them, to read the Bible with them, just worship, go to church, allow them to ask any question and not being shy to answer it, engaging them. So, and talking about politics, I do it all the time when my kids are around. Sometimes my daughter, who is 23, she doesn't, she's not comfortable, and she would say, "Oh, Dad, let's not talk about that." And I would tell her, "You will never hear this anywhere else. So this is it, So,
yeah, I want to dig into that a little bit. So, for most people, you have a pretty unique background coming from where you came from, and you have a pretty big stick to hit your kids with when it comes to, hey, you don't know how bad things were compared to where they are. But we came from this, we're here, we're that, this and that. For spoiled Americans out there, right? You want to look at this factor, right? The average, Vodi Bakum did a study, or was reading a study from some parenting group out there on what the average amount of time fathers thought that they were spending with their children, right? Thoughtful, provoking, engaging, mentoring time. Like, what was that time? Everyone said, oh, about an hour a day. It was 5 to 7 minutes a day. All right. The world is around your kid, and their friends are around them all the time. If you don't control who's around your kid, um, you know, you could be letting in the enemy. And you don't know how many parents who are Christians who thought they raised solid Christian kids who are totally lost now because they put them in the public schools, because they put them in church light, because they outsourced their discipling to everyone else. Discipling is a full-time job. It's not, hey, after dinner, let's talk about politics for 30 minutes and then the Bible for 30 minutes a day, because the world has had your kid for 12 hours that day and you're only getting one, right? Now, for some people, that may be enough. What I'm telling you to set yourself up for success is to build groups, right? To build what I call, forward operating bases for those of you who live in blue towns, in the middle of New York or Massachusetts. Get around your families, around like-minded Christians. Hang out with them. Homeschooling is a great option. If you can't do that, then you better monitor who your kids are and you better show them they're not alone and they're not crazy. Because all the kids wearing the BLM shirts in school and with the pink hair and the purple hair and they're straight today, bisexual the next day, intrasexual the next day. And what's wrong with you? Why are you a hater? Why are you a bigot? Why are you a racist? Why can't you just say BLM? Why do you got to say all lives matter? Right? If you don't give them a pocket of that, your odds of success are this big unless God himself intervenes in your family. And that's what I've seen time and time again of people who just tried to be good parents. You don't try to be good parents. You disciple a Christian warrior to Jesus Christ. That's what you do. And here's another thing I want to talk about. For all you people who are writing comments on our page, the Bible doesn't say anything about being a Christian warrior. It's not for you. Go away. I don't want you. Go away. I don't care. If you want the pacifist garbage, go somewhere else. I don't care about you. I'm just going to delete you and go away. We are doing something different here. I am trying to train up and create force multipliers of our protectors, of the shepherds of our flocks going forward, the shepherds of their families, of their churches, of their communities. And guess what? Shepherds had to fight.
Amen.
So,
I started coming to the States in '95 and came many times, twice with my wife, and we traveled to many states and churches and where I preached and so on. And I can tell you that the best kids that I met were homeschooled.
yep,
Hands
down.
I could always see the difference. When you enter somebody's home and when you see a kid who is looking through you, he doesn't say anything, doesn't say hello, how are you? I know this kid goes to school.
Just doing this on their phone.
No, they didn't have phones at the time. They
Okay.
didn't have them. It was the 90s, So immediately I know they go to a regular school, but kids who were homeschooled, oh my goodness, I had a blast in this kind of families with children.
I'll tell you, we did it was an eye-opening experience because I always thought, the socialization was important. There are life lessons that you learn in school. And this is a topic for another show. But I thought the socialization was worth it. That, learning that the nail that sticks up the highest gets hit, and learning to conform to societal norms I thought had a purpose. That the person with the flaming purple hair would get picked on until their hair became normal, right? That type of stuff. But when I went and we taught a homeschooling group of juniors and seniors, girls, a women's self-defense class, and it was mother daughters, and it was at a church, and that was the best group of teenagers I've ever met in my life. And I'm like, that changed how I saw this. And without exception, not one exception have I seen in that rule where I encounter a homeschool kid where they don't have the best manners, where they're not a joy to be around. They're a joy to be around. Like
And
you
very
said,
sociable, very
yes,
sociable too.
yeah, because they're learning cues from their parents, not awkward teenagers or other kids. They're learning from adults how to be adults.
Yep. Yeah. And they know how to behave. They know how to ask the right questions from an adult. They're very respectful. Many of them would call me sir, sir, thank you, sir, how are you? And so it's just you can tell the difference right away.
Yeah. So Brandy said, University of Texas, Austin chancellor said he has 4 years to turn the kids from the teaching of their parents. I'll tell you what, I wouldn't be sending my kid there, and I wouldn't be boosting or donating there. And Austin's a liberal hellhole in Texas. It's a beautiful place, but it's full of crazies, and that's proof.
Absolutely. It was the goal of communists when they took power in Russia to take away children from their families, in the kindergartens and schools in
Yep.
order to indoctrinate them. And they were saying that it is the responsibility of the state to educate children and bring them up, not parents.
Wow.
So that's the agenda.
Wow. Wow. So, well, all right. I think, are there any questions out there? I think this is a good place to wrap up a show. Good, strong show. Thanks, guys. Again, thank you for your prayers for baby B. I mean, sorry for baby Anya, and for Mama, and for me. And keep them coming because we could use the sleep. Andrew, you want to pray us out?
Sure. Thank you, Lord, for this wonderful time, for everybody who joined us, and for every question and comment. Thank you for Jason and Lauren and their beautiful girls. We pray, Lord, that you bless them with good sleep, good rest, that the new baby Anya would sleep at night and do the rest of the baby things during the day. Lord, and we lift up this country to you. We lift up the churches, first of all, and we pray for every true church, every Christian and pastor, so that all of us together would follow your example, would follow you, be obedient to you, and love you more than anything else in the world. Lord, let your Holy Spirit convict the church and us of our sins and change our paths and ways, Lord, so that we would repent and follow you and turn this country around and build a very strong foundations for the generations to come, so that it would spread to the rest of the world. In Jesus' mighty name, amen.
Amen. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. I'll see you back here on Wednesday, and from Biblical Life Support. So God bless you, and we'll see you on Wednesday.
God bless you.
Bye.